He did not erase her from his life quietly. He erased her with a black pen, under fluorescent lights, on a blue emergency contact card at their son's school. Clara Hayes stood at the front desk of Westbridge Academy, the biological mother being crossed out of her own son's file, with a small paper box balanced in both hands. Inside were lemon biscuits, the kind Noah, her only child, the boy who still searched for her face whenever a hallway felt too crowded, only asked for when he was nervous. The box was tied with a pale ribbon she had saved from last Christmas, because after the divorce, Clara had learned that nothing soft should be thrown away too quickly. The receptionist looked down at the student file, then up at Clara, then down again. That pause was the first cut. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Hayes," the young woman said, lowering her voice as if kindness could make the words less sharp. "Your name is no longer listed as the primary emergency contact." Clara blinked once. On the counter, beneath a clear plastic sheet, lay Noah's file. His full name, his class, his allergies, his pickup permissions. And there, beside the words emergency contact, Clara saw her own name crossed out in black ink. Not removed by accident. Not updated by mistake. Crossed out. In its place was written another name, Vanessa Hayes. The woman who now wore Adrian's ring. The woman who posted brunch photographs about blended families and grace. The woman who had never sat beside Noah through a fever, never counted his breaths in the dark, never learned that he hated the seams inside wool socks and would rather be cold than complain. Behind Clara, polished shoes clicked against the marble floor. Adrian arrived in a navy suit, the ex-husband who had once promised Clara a family and was now trying to rewrite her place in it. His hand rested lightly at Vanessa's back, not with tenderness exactly, but with ownership. He looked expensive in the careless way of men who had learned to let other people pay for their calm. Vanessa, his new wife, wore ivory, the same shade Clara had worn on the day Adrian promised forever. Vanessa glanced at the blue card and smiled with the softness of a knife. "Wrapped in silk. We thought it would be less confusing for Noah," she said, "if the school contacted the stable household first." The receptionist pretended not to hear. A mother near the hallway slowed her steps. A father holding a paper coffee cup looked away too late. Beyond the glass wall, children laughed on the playground, bright and unaware, their voices drifting in like sunlight from another life. Clara felt the biscuit box grow heavier in her hands. Adrian did not look at her when he signed the updated form. His pen moved smoothly, as if he were approving a minor expense instead of helping erase the mother of his child from the first number a school would call in an emergency. "Clara," he said, with a sigh meant for an audience, "this isn't personal. It's about what's best for Noah. Before this room decides who she is, tell me, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country below. And if you believe a woman can stay quiet without being weak, like, subscribe, and stay with Clara. Because what they erased from that card was not the truth." Clara did not reach for the form. She did not raise her voice. She did not ask Vanessa how long it had taken her to practice that sentence in the mirror. Instead, Clara lowered the box of biscuits onto the counter and opened her handbag. Inside, beneath a folded scarf, a set of worn keys, and a receipt from the grocery store she had not yet thrown away, her fingers touched the edge of another blue card. An older one, creased at the corners. Noah's emergency contact card from the year before, when Clara's name still sat where it belonged. She did not take it out. Not yet. But her thumb rested on it like a pulse. Vanessa watched her silence and mistook it for defeat. Adrian watched her stillness and recognized the woman he thought he had outgrown, the wife who used to swallow her hurt so his dinner guests could keep smiling. But Clara was not swallowing pain this time. She was measuring the room. The white ceiling lights, the glass partitions, the small security camera in the corner, the printer behind the front desk, blinking green, the file tray where someone had placed Noah's future as if it were just another paper to be sorted. Then Dr. Miriam Lane, Westbridge's head of school, appeared at the far end of the hall. "Mrs. Hayes," she said carefully. "Mr. Hayes, we're ready for the conference." Clara picked up the biscuit box. Her hand did not tremble. As they walked toward the glass-walled meeting room, Adrian stepped beside her just long enough to whisper, "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Clara kept her eyes forward. Outside the window, Noah crossed the playground with his backpack bouncing against his shoulders. He turned once, as if he had felt his mother nearby, and searched the building with worried eyes. Clara gave him the smallest smile, a mother's smile, The kind that says, I am still here, even when they pretend I am not. And when the meeting room door closed behind her, the sound was soft, almost polite. But the name they crossed out was the one that had kept Noah's life from falling apart. The meeting room smelled like lemon polish, new leather, and careful money. Clara sat across from Adrian and Vanessa while Dr. Lane arranged the documents into a neat stack. On the wall, a projector glowed pale blue, waiting to display a child's progress report as if grades were the only thing being judged that morning. Clara placed the biscuits beside her chair. She did not open them. Through the glass, she could see a row of children's artwork pinned along the corridor. One drawing caught her eye, a house with a red roof, 3 stick figures, and a sun too large for the sky. Noah used to draw houses like that. Always 3 people. Always holding hands. The image pulled Clara backward, not gently. There had been a time when Adrian's dreams fit on their kitchen table. Blueprints spread over chipped wood. Coffee rings staining the edges of investor proposals. Noah asleep in a baby rocker beside the radiator, while Clara bent over designs Adrian did not know how to finish. She had been 28 then, still wearing her wedding ring without noticing its weight. Adrian would stand behind her at 2 in the morning, kissing the top of her head while she corrected his numbers and cleaned up his language for investors. When this works, he whispered once, everyone will know what you did for me. She believed him, not because she was foolish, because love, spoken under warm kitchen light, can make ordinary promises sound sacred. So Clara gave him her evenings, then her weekends, then her career. She edited his presentations. She caught errors in contracts. She remembered the birthdays of clients' wives. She turned a small real estate firm with bad stationery into something investors could trust. When Adrian lost his temper before meetings, she set his coffee down without a word and waited until his breathing slowed. And when Noah was born, she learned how to hold a baby with one arm and revise floor plans with the other. Adrian called her his anchor, until he wanted to sail faster. The first sign had been a message. Don't come to the office tonight. No explanation. Then a photograph sent by someone who thought kindness meant warning her. Adrian at a grand opening, his hand resting at the waist of a woman in ivory silk. Vanessa, laughing beside him beneath gold lights, where Clara should have stood. The second sign had been silence. Adrian stopped saying her name when he entered rooms. Stopped asking how Noah slept. Stopped leaving space for her in the life she had helped build. He became polite in the way people become polite when they have already left and are only waiting for the paperwork to catch up. By the time the truth arrived, it was not a lightning strike. It was paperwork. A separation agreement on the dining table. A pen placed beside it. Adrian standing with his phone in his hand, already halfway gone. You'll be fine, Clara, he had said. You're practical. Practical. As if heartbreak were a leaking sink. As if a child asking why his father no longer came home could be fixed with scheduling. That night, rain streaked the windows while Clara packed Noah's clothes into a blue suitcase. She folded each small shirt with care because if her hands kept moving, she would not fall apart. His dinosaur pajamas. His green sweater with the missing button. The striped socks he only wore inside out. Noah sat on the stairs, holding a stuffed bear by one arm. Mom, he asked, did Dad leave because we were not enough? The suitcase zipper caught on a sleeve. Clara bent over it for a moment longer than necessary. Then she turned, knelt in front of him, and touched his cheek. No, sweetheart, she said. Some people leave because they don't know how to stay. He did not understand, but he leaned into her hand. And that became the first night Clara learned how to break quietly. Back in the meeting room, Vanessa slid a manicured finger across her tablet. Adrian's watch flashed under the lights. Dr. Lane cleared her throat. Mrs. Hayes, she said, before we begin, we need to address the concern raised regarding Noah's primary home environment. Primary home environment. Such clean words for a dirty thing. Clara looked again at the child's drawing in the hall. A house. A son. 3 people holding hands. The little paper family smiled because no one had told them yet that adults could erase one another and call it responsibility. Clara folded her hands on the table. Across from her, Adrian leaned back as if the outcome had already been decided. And now, the man who left was trying to decide whether she still deserved to be called his mother. Vanessa was the first to open a folder. She did it slowly, with the kind of composure people mistake for class when cruelty has been dressed well enough. The folder was cream-colored, thick, and labeled with a printed title. Parental Stability, Concern Statement. Clara read the words upside down from across the table. She felt nothing at first. That was how shock arrived now. Not as fire, but as ice. It moved through her hands, up her arms, into the place behind her ribs where anger usually began. Then it settled there and waited. Dr. Lane adjusted her glasses. Beside her sat Mrs. Elaine Porter, Noah's school counselor, quiet and silver-haired, both hands resting on a notebook. Clara had met her only once before, in a small office with colored pencils on the table and sunlight falling across Noah's handwriting. Elaine looked at Clara now. Not with pity. With warning. Vanessa pushed the folder forward. "These are our concerns," she said. "Documented. We've tried to be respectful, but at some point, the adults have to prioritize the child." The adults. Clara almost smiled. The folder opened. Inside were screenshots, selectively cropped. School emails Clara had answered hours late because she had been at work refinishing antique chairs. A notice about a delayed tuition payment, without the follow-up receipt showing it had been paid the same day. A photograph of Clara's apartment building, taken from the street on a gray afternoon, making it look tired and smaller than it was. Vanessa spoke gently. "That was the worst part. Clara has moved twice since the divorce. Her work hours seem irregular. She does not have the same resources we can provide. And Noah has been unusually anxious after transitions from her home." Clara's eyes moved to Adrian. He gave a sad nod, as if each word hurt him. "I don't want to attack Clara," he said. "She loves him. I know that. But love isn't always enough." There it was. The sentence men use when they want to turn a woman's devotion into evidence against her. Clara could have answered. She could have told them about the night Noah had a fever of 103 and Adrian texted, "I'm at a client dinner. Handle it." She could have described the school winter concert where Noah sang with both eyes fixed on the door, waiting for a father who never came. She could have shown the bank alerts, the declined card, the months Adrian sent nothing while telling friends he was generously supporting them. She could have broken the room open. But through the glass wall, she saw Noah. He was sitting on a bench outside the counselor's office, his backpack between his shoes, his fingers worrying the zipper pull the way he did when he felt people choosing sides around him. He was trying to look at a book, but his eyes kept lifting toward the meeting room. Clara inhaled slowly. Not here. Not like this. Vanessa mistook the pause as permission. She turned another page. "We also feel the school should consider whether communication through Clara is in Noah's best interest. Children need consistency. A stable household. Predictability." Adrian leaned forward. "Can you honestly say," he asked Clara, "that you are still fit to make decisions for him?" The room changed after that. Even the air seemed to lean closer. Dr. Lane looked up sharply, perhaps hearing the cruelty beneath the concern. Elaine's pencil stopped moving. Outside, Noah lifted his head, though he could not hear the words. Clara looked at the man she once loved. She remembered his hands trembling before his first investor meeting. How she tied his tie, because he could not get the knot right. How he said he did not know what he would do without her. Now he sat across from her, asking whether she was fit to love the child she had raised through his absence. Clara placed both palms flat against her knees beneath the table. She gave herself one heartbeat, then another. When she spoke, her voice was low enough that everyone had to be still to hear it. "Not in front of my son." Adrian blinked. "What?" "I said," Clara repeated. "Not in front of my son. No defense. No accusation. No pleading. Just a boundary placed gently on the table, heavier than Vanessa's folder." For the first time, Vanessa's smile faltered. Adrian scoffed under his breath. "See," he said to Dr. Lane. "She can't even defend herself." Clara turned her face toward him. There was no anger in her eyes. Only a calm so complete it made him look away first. What Adrian mistook for weakness was the last mercy she was willing to give him. After the divorce, Clara learned that survival had a sound. It was the alarm at 5:30 in the morning, vibrating against a cracked phone screen before the sun had reached the windows. It was the kettle clicking off in a small kitchen where the cabinets did not close properly. It was Noah's cereal pouring into a chipped blue bowl while Clara checked the bus schedule, a freelance invoice, and the school calendar before her coffee had cooled enough to drink. Their apartment was on the third floor above a dry cleaner and a bakery that burned its first batch of bread every Monday. The hallway smelled of detergent, old carpet, and sometimes rain. It was not the kind of place Vanessa would photograph. It had no marble island, no curated fruit bowl, no view worth naming. But Noah slept there. deeply. That mattered more than chandeliers. Every morning, Clara folded his uniform shirt while it was still warm from the radiator. She packed lunch with notes written on napkins because she could not always buy the snacks other children brought, but she could write, "Brave heart. Math test today. Breathe first." Then she walked him to the bus stop, kissed the top of his hair, and watched until the bus turned the corner. Only then did she become tired. At 8, she arrived at Marlowe Restoration Studio, where old furniture came to be forgiven. She sanded water stains out of mahogany tables, repaired chair legs snapped by careless owners, polished brass handles until they caught the light again. Sometimes, when she worked on a piece with deep scratches, she thought about how it could look ruined until someone took the time to see what was still strong underneath. Her hands, once known for clean architectural lines and precise sketches, became rough at the knuckles. There was always varnish under one nail, always a cut she did not remember getting. At night, after Noah slept, she opened her laptop at the kitchen table. The same table where he did homework. The same table where bills waited in thin white envelopes. She designed cafe interiors for people who never learned her name. Revised floor plans for contractors who called her sweetheart in emails until they saw the quality of her work and changed to Ms. Hayes. Took rush projects no one else wanted because rush meant extra pay. Some nights, the screen blurred. Some nights, she rested her forehead on the table for exactly 2 minutes, then sat up again because tuition did not care about exhaustion. In the top cabinet, behind Noah's old lunchbox, Clara kept a tin box. It had once held Christmas cookies. Now it held proof. Tuition receipts, uniform invoices, speech therapy payments, copies of emails from Westbridge Academy, a medical bill from the night Noah's fever climbed so high he stopped complaining and simply stared at the ceiling. Next to that bill was a printed text from Adrian. "Handle it. I'm busse." Clara had printed it not because she wanted to hate him. Hate required energy she needed elsewhere. She printed it because memory was fragile, and powerful men were good at making women sound confused. There had been months when Adrian paid late, then months when he did not pay at all. But at charity dinners he spoke about investing in education. On social media, Vanessa posted a photo of Noah's school crest with the caption, "So proud to support his future." Clara saw it while standing in line at a discount grocery store, calculating whether she could afford apples and laundry soap in the same trip. She did not comment. She bought the apples. One October evening, an email from the school arrived with a subject line, "Tuition balance cleared. Thank you, Mrs. Hayes." Clara stared at the words in the blue light of the laptop. Noah was asleep on the couch under a blanket, one sock half off, his spelling worksheet on the floor. She should have felt relief. Instead, she felt the kind of grief that comes when doing the right thing has cost so much you cannot celebrate it. She printed the email, folded it once, placed it in the tin box. Then she washed Noah's lunch container, laid out his uniform, and set her alarm again. No one saw those nights. No one applauded. No one called her stable. But every sacrifice Adrian called invisible had been leaving a paper trail. 3 weeks before the conference, Clara received a message from Mrs. Elaine Porter, Westbridge Academy's school counselor. "Could you come in after dismissal? I'd like to discuss Noah. Nothing urgent but important." Clara read the message twice while standing in the restoration studio, her apron dusted with pale wood powder. Around her, half-repaired chairs stood upside down on workbenches like sleeping animals. Nothing urgent but important. That was how adults spoke when they were trying not to frighten a mother. By 4:15, Clara was at the school. She had changed out of her apron in the restroom of a nearby cafe, washed varnish from her hands, and tied her hair back with the elastic Noah had once given her from his pencil case because, he said, her old one looked tired. Elaine's office was small, tucked near the library, with a green rug and low shelves of picture books. There were jars of colored pencils on the table and a basket of smooth stones children could hold when words became too heavy. Noah was not there. That made Clara's chest tighten. Elaine noticed. "He's in art club," she said gently. "He doesn't know I asked you to come." Clara sat. Her knees felt too close together. Her hands rested in her lap, still faintly smelling of lemon soap and varnish. Elaine opened a folder, but not the kind Vanessa would later bring. This one had no accusation in it. No performance. Just pages with pencil marks and child-sized honesty. "We've been working on emotional mapping," Elaine said. "Helping Noah name where he feels safe, pressured, excited, afraid." She turned one page around. There was a drawing of 2 houses. One was large, with many windows and a driveway full of square cars. Above it, Noah had written, Dad's house. People talk loud. The other house was smaller. A rectangle with curtains, a little table, and a bed with a blue blanket. Above it, Mom's house. I can sleep. Clara pressed her lips together. Elaine did not rush her. Another page. A sentence in uneven handwriting. At Dad's house, everyone talks about winning. At Mom's house, I don't have to win. The room blurred at the edges. Clara lowered her gaze, but tears still gathered. She wiped them quickly, not because crying was shameful, but because she had become trained to leave no evidence of being hurt. Elaine slid a tissue box closer. He loves his father, she said. That's clear. But he's carrying adult pressure. He's worried that if he shows comfort with you, he's betraying his father. And if he enjoys his father's house, he's hurting you. Clara closed her eyes. That was the part divorce papers never mentioned. The way a child became a hallway between 2 locked rooms. There's more, Elaine said. She opened another document. Mr. Hayes submitted an updated family information packet last week, she said. It requested that all academic decisions go through him and Mrs. Cole Hayes first. He suggested you were difficult to reach and that the current arrangement confused Noah. Clara looked up. He can't do that. Not without proper authorization, Elaine said. But informal changes sometimes happen before anyone challenges them. An office processes a form. A name moves. A parent assumes the other parent approved it. Of course they did. That was how women disappeared. Not always by force. Sometimes by forms. A missed email. A new spouse's signature. A tired receptionist who assumed the man in the suit must know what he was doing. Elaine folded her hands. I'm not asking you to fight louder, Mrs. Hayes. Clara looked at her. I'm asking you to bring what proves you've been present. Present. The word landed softly, then deep. Clara thought of the tin box behind the lunchbox. The receipts. The emails. The medical forms. The napkin notes. The small, unglamorous archive of a mother who had kept showing up. For so long, she had believed defending herself would mean dragging Noah into ugliness. But maybe truth did not have to be ugly. Maybe truth, handled carefully, could be clean. Elaine handed her a sealed envelope. Noah wrote something he said he wanted adults to understand, she said. He gave permission for one part to be shared if this meeting became about making you disappear from decisions that affect him. I won't share it unless it becomes necessary, and only with your consent. Clara took it with both hands. The envelope weighed almost nothing, but she felt its weight all the way home. For the first time, Clara understood that silence did not mean she had to arrive empty-handed. On the morning of the conference, Clara woke before the alarm. The apartment was blue with early light. The radiator clicked softly near the window. Outside, the city had not yet decided what kind of day it would become. Noah's bedroom door was half open. She stood there for a moment, watching him sleep beneath the crooked glow-in-the-dark stars they had stuck to the ceiling during their first week in the apartment. One star had fallen and now rested on the bookshelf beside a model airplane Adrian had promised to build with him and never did. Noah's face looked younger in sleep, less guarded. Clara wanted to leave the world outside his room and shut the door against all of it. Instead, she went to the kitchen. The kettle hissed. The toaster clicked. Clara moved quietly through the routine that had saved her from collapsing more times than anyone knew. Uniform shirt. Lunchbox. Lemon biscuits. A note folded beneath Noah's napkin. You are not a problem to solve. You are a person to love. When Noah woke, she did not mention the conference. She helped him find his missing sock, listened while he explained a science project involving magnets, and brushed a piece of lint from his blazer. At the door, he hesitated. Mom? Yes. Do you have to see Dad today? Clara crouched to his height. I have to talk with the school. Your dad will be there. Noah looked at the floor. Are you going to fight? The question entered her like a cold wind. She touched his shoulder. No. I'm going to tell the truth calmly. He studied her face, searching for the hidden part adults often kept behind their eyes. Then he nodded. After the school bus pulled away, Clara returned to the apartment and took down the tin box. The lid made a small metallic sound when she opened it. Inside lay 2 years of invisible labor. She arranged everything on the table. Tuition receipts in date order. Payment confirmations. Copies of emails addressed to her. The custody agreement with highlighted sections. Medical forms. The printed message from Adrian.
Handle it. I'm Buse.
She placed Noah's sealed letter on top, then paused. The final item was tucked beneath the others. The old blue emergency contact card. The one from before Vanessa. Before the black pen. Before Adrian decided motherhood could be administratively reassigned. Clara held it in her hand. The paper had softened along the fold. Her name looked ordinary there. Clara Hayes. Phone number. Relationship to student. Mother. Mother. No title had ever cost her more. No title had ever mattered more. She slipped the card into the inner pocket of her handbag. Then she dressed. Not for battle. For clarity. White shirt. Black trousers. Cream coat.
No necklace.
No expensive watch. Her only adornment was the hair elastic Noah had given her, looped once around her wrist, like a small blue promise. In the mirror, she looked at herself for a long moment. There were faint lines beside her mouth that had not been there before the divorce. Her eyes looked tired, but not lost. The woman in the mirror was not the wife Adrian had left packing a suitcase in. The rain. She was not the abandoned version of herself anymore. She was the witness, the mother, the record keeper, the woman who had stopped waiting for someone cruel to become fair. Clara zipped her handbag. Before leaving, she looked once at Noah's empty chair at the kitchen table. For Noah, she whispered, not against him. Then she turned off the light, locked the door, and stepped into the hallway. The truth in her bag made no sound, but it changed the way she walked. Then she closed the door softly, carrying the kind of truth that did not need to raise its voice. Back in the glass-walled meeting room, Vanessa began her performance with photographs. She laid them on the table one by one, glossy and bright. Noah at Adrian's dining table, silverware shining on both sides of his plate. Noah in front of a ski lodge, wearing a coat Clara knew he disliked because the collar scratched his neck. Noah seated between Adrian and Vanessa, beneath a Christmas tree too perfect to look touched. In every picture, the house was beautiful. In every picture, Noah's smile looked practiced. Vanessa tapped the top photograph with one red nail. This is what stability looks like, she said. Clara watched Dr. Lane glance at the images. The head of school's face remained professional, but something in her eyes shifted at Vanessa's choice of words. Stability. As if love could be staged beside a centerpiece. Adrian leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice carefully sad. We're not trying to remove Clara from Noah's life, he said. We just think certain decisions should be handled by the parent who can provide structure. Clara looked at him. Structure. She remembered Noah sitting at her kitchen table, building a cardboard bridge for science class while she held the broken pieces until the glue dried. She remembered helping him memorize multiplication tables with raisins because they could not afford the fancy math app Adrian bought and never installed. She remembered the night Noah whispered that he liked her apartment because the walls did not echo. Vanessa slid another paper forward. We've also prepared a proposed communication arrangement. It would avoid unnecessary confusion. School notices, medical updates, activity approvals, all routed through Adrian and me first.
Me.
The words sat between them like a stolen chair. Clara heard a sound outside the room, a chair leg scraping softly against the corridor floor. Beyond the glass, Noah sat with Elaine's assistant. His book was open, but he was not reading. His eyes moved between the adults, trying to understand a conversation he had been told was not his burden, but somehow carried anyway. Clara's throat tightened. Vanessa followed her gaze, then smiled. Children feel uncertainty, Clara. Even when we try to hide it, they need to know who is really in charge. There it was again. Not concern. Possession. Adrian added, Look, Clara, no one is saying you don't love him. But you have to admit your situation is not ideal. The room became very quiet. Beyond the frosted edge of the glass wall, a few silhouettes slowed in the corridor, sensing tension without hearing the words. The faint clink of a coffee cup came from somewhere down the hall. The projector hummed. On the table, Vanessa's photographs reflected the overhead lights so brightly that Clara could barely see Noah's face in them. Dr. Lane turned toward Clara. Mrs. Hayes, she said, more gently than before, would you like to respond? Everyone waited. Adrian expected tears. Vanessa expected embarrassment. Perhaps they both expected the old Clara, the woman who used to smooth tablecloths after Adrian insulted her in front of guests, who used to rescue him from awkward silences, who used to carry his failures so gracefully that he began to believe they belonged to her. Clara opened her handbag. The small sound of the zipper cut through the room. She removed the first folder. Not cream-colored. Not polished. Plain gray, corners slightly worn. Then she looked at Dr. Lane. Yes, she said. But I'll start with the records. Vanessa's smile tightened. Adrian leaned back, annoyed now. Clara, he warned. She did not look at him. She opened the folder and took out a single sheet. The paper was thin, ordinary, almost unimpressive. That made it more powerful. The first paper she placed on the table was not an accusation.
It was a
receipt. The receipt lay between them like a small, undeniable fact. Tuition payment confirmation. Student, Noah Hayes. Paid by Clara Hayes. Date, September 3rd. Dr. Lane picked it up, her expression still controlled. Elaine's eyes remained on Clara, steady as a hand at her back. Vanessa glanced at the paper, then at Adrian. Adrian's jaw moved once. Clara placed down another receipt. Then another. October. November. December.
January.
Month after month. Payment after payment. Some printed in black and white. Some forwarded from email. Some stamped by the school's finance office. Each one carried Clara's name. The room no longer smelled like lemon polish. It smelled like exposure. Dr. Lane set the papers in a neat row. Mrs. Hayes, she said, these show tuition payments made by you over an 18-month period. Yes. Vanessa gave a soft laugh that did not reach her eyes. Many divorced parents split expenses. That doesn't change the broader concern. Clara placed another document down. A school account summary. Adrian's promise payments, missed, delayed, unpaid. Then an email from the school finance office. Thank you, Mrs. Hayes. The outstanding balance has been cleared. Then a medical invoice. Then the printed text. Handle it.
I'm Buse.
Adrian reached for the paper, but Dr. Lane lifted it first. Clara, he said sharply, forgetting the softness he had been using for the room. This is unnecessary. Clara turned to him then.
No, she said.
Unnecessary was making our son afraid that loving me would disappoint you. The words were quiet. They did not echo. They entered the room and stayed. Vanessa's face changed. Not with guilt. With calculation. She glanced toward the glass wall, perhaps remembering that even when people could not hear every word, they could still recognize a performance falling apart. Clara took out the custody agreement. The school was not authorized to remove me as Noah's primary school contact, she said, sliding the highlighted section toward Dr. Lane. And Adrian was not authorized to place Vanessa above me in emergency decisions. Dr. Lane read. Her mouth tightened. Elaine finally moved. She placed Noah's sealed envelope on the table. Clara's hand froze above her folder. The envelope looked painfully small among the adult documents. Dr. Lane looked from Elaine to Clara. Mrs. Hayes, she said, this was submitted privately through counseling. Mrs. Porter has indicated Noah gave permission for a limited portion to be shared if his voice became necessary. We will only read it with your consent. Clara looked through the glass. Noah sat outside, staring at his shoelace, winding and unwinding it around one finger. For a moment, she wanted to protect him from even his own truth. Then she remembered his question on the stairs years ago. Did Dad leave because we were not enough? Some lies, if left unanswered, become a child's inheritance. Clara nodded. Dr. Lane opened the envelope. The paper inside had been folded twice. The handwriting tilted slightly upward, as if hope had pulled it. Dr. Lane read only a few lines. At Dad's house, everyone talks about winning. At Mom's house, I can sleep. I want both my parents, but I don't want Dad to make Mom disappear. No one moved. Not Vanessa. Not Adrian. Not even the faint shapes beyond the glass, who seemed to feel the room go still before they understood why. The silence did not belong to Clara anymore. It belonged to the truth. Adrian looked toward the hallway, but Noah was not looking at him. He was looking at the floor. Dr. Lane removed her glasses and set them carefully beside the documents. Mr. Hayes, she said, the school cannot accept unauthorized changes to a child's guardian records. Effective immediately, Mrs. Hayes will be restored as Noah's primary school contact. Vanessa inhaled. Dr. Lane, surely. The head of school raised one hand. This is not a discussion of image, Mrs. Colhayes. It is a matter of record, authorization, and the child's welfare. Then she turned to the receptionist, visible through the glass wall. Please print the corrected emergency card. The receptionist stood quickly. For several seconds, all anyone heard was the printer outside the room. Paper feeding. Ink moving. a small mechanical sound restoring what a man had tried to erase. Clara sat still. She did not smile at Adrian. She did not watch Vanessa shrink. She watched the printer. And when the new blue card slid out, Clara did not reach for victory. She reached for her son. The receptionist brought the new card into the hallway first. Not to Adrian. Not to Vanessa. To Clara. The card was the same pale blue as the old one, the kind of paper schools used because it was easy to find in emergencies. Nothing luxurious. Nothing dramatic. Just a small rectangle of order in a world that had become cruelly disordered. Clara took it with both hands. Primary emergency contact. Clara Hayes. Relationship to student. Mother. No black line. No replacement name.
No polite dos appearance.
For a moment, she could not move. It was only paper. And yet it held 2 years of early mornings, unpaid invoices, court forms, fever nights, bus stops, grocery lists, and every time, she had chosen not to collapse because Noah still needed breakfast. Adrian came out of the meeting room behind her. His face had lost the practiced sadness. Without it, he looked smaller. Not ruined. Not destroyed. Just seen. Clara, he said. She turned only halfway. We should talk. Vanessa stood near the doorway, clutching the glossy photographs of their perfect house. Under the white lights, the images looked suddenly artificial, like advertisements for a life no child could safely sleep inside. Clara looked at Adrian for a long second. Once those 3 words, we should talk, would have rearranged her entire body. She would have waited for apology, explanation, softness. She would have searched his face for proof that the man she loved had not fully disappeared. Now, she only felt tired. Not broken. Finished. No, she said gently. We should parent. Talking can wait until you're ready to do that honestly. Adrian flinched, as if she had raised her voice. She had not. That was the power of it. Noah stood from the bench when he saw her. His backpack was too big on his shoulders. His eyes moved from her face to the card in her hand. Mom. Clara knelt in front of him in the hallway, right there on the marble floor, not caring who watched. She straightened his collar, though it was already straight. Children understand hands better than speeches. Everything is okay, she said.
Noah looked at the blue card.
Are you still my first call? The question went through Clara so cleanly that for 1 second she forgot the adults, the glass walls, the documents, the years of being reduced and renamed. She cupped his cheek. Always. That was the word that finally silenced Adrian. Not the receipts. Not the legal agreement. Not the school's decision. Always. Because it named the thing Adrian could not buy, stage, or cross out. Clara stood and took Noah's hand. Before leaving, she returned to the reception counter. From her handbag, she removed the old blue card, the one with her name crossed out in black ink. She looked at it once. Then she placed it flat on the counter. Not angrily. Not as a warning. As a record of what had been done. The receptionist looked at it, then at Clara, and her face softened with the kind of apology people give when they were part of a harm before they understood it. Clara did not ask for an apology. She did not need that either. She kept the new card. Outside, the automatic glass doors opened with a quiet breath. Morning light poured across the school steps. On the playground, children ran in circles, their laughter bright enough to make the building behind her feel colder. Noah slipped his hand into hers. This time, he did not look back to see whether his father was watching. Neither did Clara. Behind them, Adrian remained inside the glass hallway, surrounded by polished floors, white light, and the perfect life he had tried to perform. But perfection had not followed him out. His son had. And his son had chosen the hand that never let him wonder whether love needed an audience. Clara walked slowly, not because she was weak, but because she was no longer running from shame that had never belonged to her. The blue card rested in her coat pocket.
Small. Ordinary.
Uncrossed. Some people will try to erase you from the story they were too proud to tell honestly. They will rename your sacrifices, question your love, and mistake your silence for surrender. But a woman who has carried the truth alone does not need to scream when the door finally opens. She only needs to walk through it, without asking permission to be seen. Clara did not win because Adrian regretted losing her. She won because no one no longer had to watch his mother disappear quietly to keep the peace. And as they stepped into the sun, Clara felt something loosen inside her. Not forgiveness, not yet, but freedom. She did not need to be chosen by the man who left, only remembered by the child she never stopped choosing.